Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's about 4 o'clock here in Las Vegas, and my name is Danielle Loughton, and I am going to talk today about CBD and how it works in the body. So as you think of questions, go ahead and post them in the comments, and if I can't answer it during the live, I will certainly answer it at the end of the live. Hey, Trish. How you doing? Hi, Tina. So as people are jumping on, hi, Tyler. If you could put in the comments where you're seeing this from, so I kind of know where in the country people are coming from. And, excuse me. And if you have never really heard about CBD or don't know much about it, place a 1 in the comments. If you're pretty well educated on it, place a 5 in the comments. And if you are like superstar, know everything, put a 10 in the comments. I like to kind of know where my audience is at. I will try to keep things in hopefully plain English. Hopefully I don't get tongue-tied over some of the words, but hi, Amy. Hi. Good. You're a number 5. Awesome. Hi, Gina. Thanks for hopping on. So for those of you jumping on, go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching me from today. And if you are new to CBD, don't know a whole heck of a lot about it, place a 1 in the comments. If you're fairly familiar, place a 5. And if you are rock star level, place a 10. That way I kind of know where people are at. So what I'm going to be talking about is how CBD works in the body, how it affects us, how does it do so much for us. And hi, Andrea. Thanks, guys, for hopping on. So why does it seem like it's a miracle drug? You know, CBD does, we're hearing it all the time. It's on the news. Everybody seems to be coming out with new products, and it can get really confusing how it actually is working. And so I'm hoping to kind of clear some of that up a little bit. And then I have some very highly technical, guys, just wait, look at these graphics. Graphic artist, I am not, which is why I sell CBD. And at the end, if you stick with me, I'm going to tell you how you can win a free bottle of CBD or a pet pack of CBD with the CBD oil and the pet treats. So stick with me. If you guys like what I have to say, go ahead and throw me some hearts and thumbs. It's always encouraging when you see those. So let's dive right in. Hey, Rhonda. All right, so CBD, what does it mean? What does it stand for? It stands for cannabidiol. It is a compound found in the hemp plant. It's also found in the marijuana plant, but in the hemp plant specifically. And when we talk about CBD, one of the first questions people always ask is it going to get me high? And the answer is no. You could drink probably 15 bottles of CBD oil and you would never get high. You'd probably get sick, but you never would get high. Because hemp and marijuana are 2 different plants. They're under the cannabis kind of header, but they're 2 different plants. So you can kind of think about apples and oranges are both fruits, but they're 2 different things and they do 2 different things. So when I'm talking about CBD, I'm specifically talking today about hemp-derived CBD. There is marijuana-derived CBD, which has higher THC content in it, but for the purpose of this talk, I'm just talking hemp-derived CBD. So in 2014, the first farm bill was signed that gave select farms the ability to start growing industrial hemp. These were called the pilot programs. And then in 2018, just last December, President Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill, which basically took hemp off of the Controlled Substance Act and removed it as a controlled substance. And this opened the door for states now to create their own laws around hemp cultivation and whether or not they want to bring that in as a crop that has I think there's something like 50,000 products that hemp can be used to make. So it's a very versatile crop, very, very lucrative crop. And with the passage of the Farm Bill, it just really opened the doors. But the other kind of flip side of this is that it opened the doors to a lot of companies flooding the market. There's not a whole lot of regulations in this industry, and so pretty much it's sort of a free-for-all. So I'm gonna, towards the end, if I forget, somebody remind me, I'll kind of go over some things to look for when you are considering CBD, and then you can, make your choice. So those of you that are jumping on, if you would be so kind as to drop in the comments where you're seeing me from today. If you have never really heard much about hemp or about CBD, drop a 1 in the comments. If you're fairly familiar with it, drop a 5. And if you're rock star level, drop a 10. That way I kind of know where you guys are in terms of your knowledge. So what makes CBD legal? The legal definition of federally legal hemp is that it must have a THC content of less than 0.3% of dry weight. Anything above that 0.3%, 0.31%, now becomes basically dispensary level THC content. And hemp or marijuana derived CBD can have THC contents of sometimes up to 30 or 40%. In the hemp plant, we're talking less than 10%. So hemp is very high in cannabinoids, low in THC, and the marijuana plant is high in THC, low in cannabinoids. So 2 different functions. One will have some psychoactive effects, which actually that's kind of a bad term to use because we know that CBD helps to calm the mental health and the jitters and all of that. So that is a psychoactive effect. So we can't really say it's non-psychoactive, but we can say it's psychoactive in a good way. So that's what makes CBD and hemp legal. 0.03% THC of dry weight material. In the early 90s, 1992 to be specific, Dr. Raphael Mechoulam of the Hebrew University in Israel actually discovered the endocannabinoid system. Incidentally, Dr. Mechoulam also discovered back in the 60s, he actually discovered the THC molecule 1 year after the CBD molecule was identified. So kind of neat that Dr. Mechoulam discovered that THC is the psychoactive, the thing that gets you high. And then he also discovered the mechanism of action in the endocannabinoid system. So what is this crazy endocannabinoid system? I'm going to refer to it as the ECS from here on out. But what it is, it's a system that all mammals have. Humans, animals, even birds and snakes and reptiles have sort of a rudimentary endocannabinoid system. We have developed this system over millions of years. So we know that as part of our human history, we were consuming cannabinoids, or we wouldn't have this system in our bodies. This system is responsible for regulating almost every body system that we have. And it is the largest receptor system and neurotransmitter system in the body. So it's pretty amazing with all of the advances in technology that the endocannabinoid system was just pretty recently discovered. Excuse me. So the ECS, one of its functions is to maintain balance in the body. So the body has to have a delicate balance of, and the other thing I'm going to make the disclaimer is that I cannot say disease names. So you'll have to work with me and read between the lines when I'm trying to describe some of these things. But the FDA does not allow us to make medical claims, nor is this live to be used to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. So the body has to have a delicate balance system. So we have, on one hand, we have fluid building up and fluid building up. And we have to have that balance. It's the yin and the yang. So just like darkness and light and happiness and sadness, we have to have this balance in our body. If we had too much of one and not enough of the other, that is the point when we start to see disease process happen. Let me just check in. Hi, Alyssa. Hey, Victoria. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Wyatt. Thanks for hopping on. For those of you hopping on, please drop in the comments where you're watching me from. If you've got some basic knowledge of CBD, drop a 1. If you are somewhat familiar, drop a 5. And if you're rock star level, drop me a 10. Those 10s, I want to hear from you afterwards to see how I did with this. So the ECS is responsible for keeping everything in balance. The body, when it is out of balance, when one system is working harder than the other, that's when we start to see all these diseases and these symptoms and these feelings of unwell. It starts to affect our mental health. And so we have to have some system in place that works to balance that out, and that is the ECS. Like I said, it is the largest neurotransmitter system in the body. So it literally tells the body, sort of like an on-off switch, to turn this chemical off and turn this one on, and so forth. So it goes through the body at the cellular level, going through and making these changes to try and get your body back to where it should have been all along. If you live in North America, you have some environmental assaults happening to you every day through pesticides, through our diets, through the heavy sugar diets that we have, which all causes fluid to build up in our bodies. So nobody is immune to illness. Nobody is perfectly healthy. Everybody's body system at all times is constantly trying to find that balance. So even people that say, well, I don't really need CBD because I'm pretty healthy. Well, guess what? You do. So the CBD actually is what helps to keep that system in balance. So what happens if you are really healthy and something really goes out of whack? Then it's going to take you probably longer to heal back up because it has to take that much longer to get back into balance. So there's two different types of what we call endogenous cannabinoids. So that means cannabinoids that we produce. Corey, you just threw me off. I just looked down at that comment. Thank you. I'm not looking at comments anymore. No, I'm just kidding. There's two types of cannabinoids that our own bodies produce. One of them is called 2-AG. The other one is called anandamide. And anandamide in Sanskrit means the bliss molecule. It is what is released when you are meditating, when you have been running and you kind of get that runner's high, which I know nothing about because I don't run unless there's a clown and an axe. Don't do it. So these cannabinoids that are in the body, they help to regulate your ECS. But what happens is when those cannabinoids start to be deficient, they are stopped being made, or they're overproducing in one area, underproducing in another, this is where our ECS becomes deficient. And this is where we have to supplement our endogenous cannabinoids with phytocannabinoids, or cannabinoids from the hemp plant. Within the ECS 2-AG anandamide, we also have two different types of receptors in the body. These two receptors are responsible for just about every body function. Without these receptors, we would not live. And when we discovered the ECS and discovered we had these receptors and went to go search and figure out what these are for, that's when they discovered that each cell has receptors on it at the protein level that bind with the different cannabinoids that are in the hemp plant. In the hemp plant, there's over 120 different available cannabinoids. Not every hemp plant has every cannabinoid. So some are high in beta-caryophyllene, some are high in limonene. I'm sorry, those are terpenes. I didn't mean to say that. I mean in CBN or CBG, or there's a bunch of different ones, but not every plant is going to have every single available cannabinoid. But each one of those cannabinoids do something different in the body. And you can kind of think of the receptors and the cannabinoids as sort of a lock and a key system. The receptors as the lock and the cannabinoids as the key. As they come together, now you've got a system that will start working to reduce extra fluid, will help calm the mind, will work in the GI system. So these cannabinoids work together in something called the entourage effect. So as they kind of link up, sort of like a strand of DNA, they work together to do different things in the body. The CB1 receptor is mostly found in your brain and central nervous system. It's also found in the lungs, the liver, and the kidneys, and it really has an affinity for THC. So when you think about the CB1 receptors and mental health, that is why we see so many positive results with THC in a full spectrum product, because the THC likes to bind with the CB1 receptors in the brain. So you can imagine if you are just taking an isolate product with only CBD and no THC, that you're not going to get the mental health and maybe some of the discomfort reduction in the product, because there's no THC for those CB1 receptors to bind with. Does that make sense to everybody? Drop me a couple of thumbs if I'm making sense. You guys are getting some values. The CB2 receptor is located in your immune system, primarily your spleen, your GI tract, and your skin. So the CB2 receptors have a great affinity for CBD. So this is why we see so many amazing health benefits with the CB2, especially on the skin, because we have a ton of CB2 receptors on our skin. So the CBD and all of the cannabinoids that are in the product will bind with those CB2 receptors and provide a lot of different relief factors for us. All right, so here we get to my really high-tech graphics, and I hope you guys don't laugh at me too much, because I'm not a graphic artist. For those of you hopping on, if you could drop in the comments where you're seeing me from today. If you've got some basic knowledge on CBD, drop me a 1. If you're fairly familiar, drop me a 5. And if you're rock star, drop me a 10. I always like to see who the rock stars are so I can go back and go, what did I miss? All right. So what I did was break down sort of the physiological changes that happen when the CBD starts working on the endocannabinoid system. As you can imagine, each one of these body functions have millions of cells and millions of receptors to bind with. And so we can kind of think of the endocannabinoid system as sort of a mobile. So you know the thing you hang above your baby's crib and it kind of bounces all over and kind of settles. That's kind of what happens with our endocannabinoid system. So this is sort of a little graph. See, I told you I'm so good at graphic design. Should have taken another career change. So this is a visual representation of, we're gonna call this the, I think I'm gonna call this the inflammation, the liquid accumulation thing that happens in the body. So we've got the physiological little branches here. This is sort of a little mobile. And these little stars here, so these are all sort of symptoms. So let's say that you have some discomfort happening over here, and this star gets really swollen and big, and it hurts a lot. You can kind of imagine what happens is it starts to unbalance the whole mobile, right? So you've got that extra weight, it's pulling on your system, everything's kind of hanging there. And what happens is your body starts to readjust into a new balance. So you could have some kind of chronic condition going on, but you're functioning pretty well. Things aren't too crazy. But what happens if you have another star that gets heavy and weighted down? Maybe this is a cold. And then we get maybe another one, and this is some sort of a virus. So now you have all of these stars, and they're weighting down the mobile. And every time you get a new symptom, the mobile is going to sort of rock and roll, and you're going to have highs and lows. It may take you a super long time to get over something because your body is just all over the place. You guys hanging with me? Is this making sense so far? Hi, Jenny. Hi, Joan. Hi, Carla. Hi, Kelly. All right. So when we think about how CBD works, when we take a pharmaceutical drug, let's say we take Advil, and everybody knows what Advil's for, right? So I don't have to say the word. When you take an Advil, what happens is that drug is designed to take care of that one star, okay? So here's another example. My blue arrows. So you've taken some Advil, your brain cramps are reduced, right? So pharmaceutical drugs work at the level of symptoms, not at the level of systems. So it works at the level of symptoms, not at the level of systems, okay? So what happens is when you start taking some sort of a pharmaceutical to clamp down on this one star, but now you've added more weight, more stress to the endocannabinoid system. Well, what happens is, once again, you get a fluctuating mobile, and the side effects from that drug may now make another star go all haywire. And so now we put and clamp down with a drug for this one to combat the side effects from the first one, and so on and so forth. So pretty soon you've got this really heavy weighted mobile, and if one little thing goes wrong, the whole thing just freaks out. And something as small as a cold could make you end up in the hospital. So where does CBD come in? Well, CBD does not work at the level of symptoms. CBD works at the level of the nexus of the cell. So it is working from the top down to balance. The green circles, that is where CBD is working. And it's a cascading effect that it starts going through and rebalancing at the cellular level. What it does is it actually messages into the cell nucleus, into the chromosomes, and into the gene proteins. And it actually sort of rewrites the whole function of that cell. So that cell is going to bind with a specific cannabinoid, say CBN, which works really good for that fluid-filled condition. So let's say it binds with the CBN and it rewrites all the cells to not give you a fluid-filled body. So it rewrites down to the cellular level what your cells should be doing versus the drug that is only working at the individual symptom. So this is also why some people, when they start taking CBD, and they maybe have a bum knee. They have something going on that's causing them some discomfort. And what happens is the body, because we know the CBD is functioning at the cellular level. CBD knows where in the body it needs to go first. So although your priority may be you've got some discomfort in that knee, you can see that the CBD has to work all through this system to get to the cells that are causing the discomfort in the knee. Does that make sense? So CBD truly does work even if you're not feeling the effects. It is going through and balancing out your system. It's signaling the molecules, right? Telling them to calm down, to turn up. In the case of fluid versus anti-fluid, I hope I'm getting through to you guys. It upregulates the anti-fluid and downregulates the fluid. So it brings the body back into balance. So hopefully that all made sense. My little funny little graphics, but I hope that made sense to you guys. CBD truly is, and I say CBD, but I'm encompassing all of the cannabinoids. There are two different types of oils out there. Well, there's three, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to call it two. So there's an isolate product that is only CBD. It's the single molecule, just one, no THC, no other cannabinoids, and it's going to bind primarily with those CB2 receptors. So it's not going to be great for the mental health and the discomfort necessarily because there's no THC for the CB1 receptors to bind with. So an isolate product, by simple chemistry, is not going to give you the effects that the full spectrum would, and the full spectrum has all of the available cannabinoids in that plant. Remember I said 120, but not all 120 are ever really going to be present at the same time. So two different products, isolate, full spectrum. Full spectrum is going to give you much more benefit because we're going to be tapping into the CB1 and the CB2 receptors, binding with them, rewriting the software of our cells, and helping to bring the body back into balance. So hopefully that all made sense. I so appreciate everybody jumping on. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, if you got some value out of this, then I will ask you to write in the comments shared, and then share it on your page, and leave me a comment if you want to hear more, less, something didn't make sense, let me know. And whoever shares my videos and tags their customers or affiliates is going to be entered in to a drawing to win a free bottle of Full Spectrum CBD oil or a pet pack with the CBD treats and the pet oil. So your choice of which prize that you want, just for sharing the video and sharing it with your customers and sharing it with your affiliates. And I just want to briefly mention that I am a certified veterinary cannabis counselor. A lot of my training on this topic does come from the human side. However, we know all of our animals do have an endocannabinoid system. And so everything I've said here today applies to our animals as well. So there's no real difference between their endocannabinoid system and ours. Functions the same, has the same receptors, has the same cascading signaling molecules that we do. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this and you got some value. Please share it, like it, comment, and get your name entered into the drawing. I will probably do the drawing on maybe Sunday night. If that works for everybody, I will announce it on my page. And you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. I am about to head out to go on a movie date with my boys. So thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic night. We'll talk to you soon. See you in my next live. Bye.